Welcome to Functionally Speaking, the podcast where two clinicians share one brain cell and way too many opinions.
I'm Laura, your mineral-obsessed dietitian who gets fired up about gut health, metabolism, and fertility, with enough sass to keep it interesting and enough nuance to keep it real.
And I'm Danielle, a physician assistant obsessed with gut health, hormones, and calling out the bullshit.
We're here for the nuance, the hot takes, the facts your certification skipped over, and the occasional spiral into chaos.
If you're a health coach, practitioner, or clinician who's slightly functional, just like our mitochondria in our recording process, you're in the right place.
We're not here to sugarcoat the science or pretend there's one right way to do this work. We're doing it our way, unfiltered, slightly feral, and always with love for the humans we serve. Let's get into it.
Oh, surprise, surprise, we're back.
My sexy voice is still here.
One more episode of Laura's sexy voice, you guys, and then...
Let's hope, jeez.
Yeah, like hopefully next week when we're back, we've obviously block recorded a couple of episodes here over the holidays so that we can enjoy time with our friends and families and loved ones and take time away from work. I mean, that might be also something we can sprinkle into this episode because 'tis the season.
Yes. Although we'll probably be posting this long after.
Yeah, but welcome. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Welcome back to Functionally Speaking, the clinical pod that spirals responsibly. We're your lovely hosts, founders of Unconventional Collaborative. We're so lovely right now. We're so lovely.
Who's going to cough first?
I know. To be fair, mine is just from the cold beverage.
Mine is from germs flying directly into my mouth from my children. It's fine.
Literally. If you guys have not checked out our Instagram or you're curious about the collaborative, if you don't have a community and other practitioners to bounce ideas off of, that's exactly why Laura and I created the collaborative. So go check us out, unconventionalcollaborative.com or at unconventional.collaborative on Instagram. So one of the things that we're going to talk about today, we may hit on something else, but is something near and dear, I feel, to both of our hearts, or at least to mine.
Yours.
Yeah. Should you offer chat support in your business? Meaning, should your clients have the ability to send you direct messages, and what does that need to look like for you? Because what it needs to look like for you isn't the same as what it would maybe need to look like for Laura or I. So I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on this topic. So I don't know if you want me to start with maybe talking about my journey with chat support. I feel like hearing people's experiences is always helpful for me to like figure out what I need to do in my business, whether I agree or disagree with them. What do you think?
It's fine.
Yeah.
My voice is just, barely here, so
yeah, we're
chat support would come in handy for the podcast right now. I could chat with you guys.
Yeah. So for me, I went from people having 24/7 access to me and charging what I would say is I was charging far too low for the services that I was offering. And people were sending me, when I say novels, like Crescent City style, like 1,000 pages, lots of information, which can be helpful, right? But I started to get really resentful because I wasn't being compensated appropriately was the first problem, and that's on me. And I also wasn't setting appropriate boundaries around that, right? So for me, I eventually learned that for people to have 24/7 access to me, and I had a 48-hour reply window, like, hey, I had an automated message. I tried to set character limits. People weren't respecting that. They would just send multiple bubbles. It was like, and they would get the message every single time. If your message is blah, 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 please schedule a 15-minute appointment. No one did. So I was trying like in a really, it's kind of like the sign at the door that says, please take your shoes off or like leave your shoes here. And people just like decide to walk through your house with their shoes on type of situation. Like I was sending that message hoping that it would be a gentle way of expressing that to people, and it didn't work. So when I changed my model to what it is now, where I have a 6-month plan and people can message me anytime that they want. They are free to message me at 3 a.m. on a Wednesday, 12 p.m. on a Saturday. I only respond to my clients between the hours of, and I'm not Hitler. This is not Nazi Germany. Like, but about between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So that is working really well for me. I also have changed my compensation model and what people get from me. And I know Laura and I, we say this all the time to the clinicians out there. Every time we've raised our prices, we get better humans almost, where I just feel like there's a lot more respect of my boundaries. Like I was on a call with a client yesterday and she had some internet problems and we ended up going 10 minutes over, but like I didn't have anybody else. So things happened. She's like, I know that we're like a little bit over on time. Like she was so mindful and respectful of that. But my people, they check in with me, they do their thing, they ask me the questions that they need. And I've never had a problem with chat since then. And that system I feel is working really great for me where people can message me at any point. So if they're in the moment and they're thinking of it, they have the access to send me that. And then also I'm setting boundaries where I'm not feeling like really overwhelmed with like 1,000 different messages all the time, right? And for me, if you use Practice Better and you didn't know about this, I really like to start my messages Monday night. So I will go through and you can time your messages to send the next morning or whenever you want them to send. And I really like that feature because I like my mornings. And so for me, if I'm sending out messages right at 8:30 in the morning because they were all pre-triggered, I have a little bit more flexibility with my morning. And so that's how I'm currently using chat support. And that's what really feels good to me in my business right now. And that may be not be something that works for you. I also feel like it is really helpful when I hear what other clinicians are doing. If I'm feeling a disconnect with something, like I know this isn't working for me, but I don't know what I need to do.
I mean, I think it's also understanding what chat support is and like who it's
Mm,
for, right? So like
yes.
if you're someone who's offering like one-off sessions, chat support doesn't really make sense from a compensation standpoint or a follow-up standpoint. And so I think both of us offer package type deals when
It's a good
we're
point.
and so I think that's the point of chat is to allow people to communicate like if someone's getting a colonoscopy and they've got results coming back, I like to hear from them and just know, like, did it go
Mm,
okay? And is there any follow up and whatever? I personally do chat support differently and I've had success with it for many years. Monday through Friday, whenever I'm on the computer, I answer questions. I don't ever get essays from people. I also see people more frequently, so that might be why. But I've never had people really abuse it. And if I ever feel that way, I just say, like, we'll talk about this in session. And almost always they are like, sure. So for me, I keep chat open. If they're going to be paying a premium for me, they're going to be getting access to me. Does that mean I reply right away? No, usually not.
yeah.
You're usually getting me by 24, 48 hours. It also depends what the message is. And if it's,
Yeah.
I usually check in too to see what it's about. And then I kind of go from there and say like, okay, well, I need to either sit down and like look into this or I can answer this like super quickly. To me, I feel like I don't get triggered to that. I'm just like, I just answer
Yeah.
whatever. So I think it depends.
Yeah. And like I definitely don't get those essays like I used to. I see people once a month, so I am seeing people more frequently now too. Before I was seeing people would get 3 sessions and they could use them over 9 months. So there was a lot of time in between appointments. So it is a very different model now. So I definitely don't get the messages that I was getting before. Since I changed that, I have not felt that way at all. I think what's also different about our models, just for people's understanding, is like that's basically all I do on Tuesdays for the most part. So you're probably getting a response from me within an hour, and you know that you're getting a response from me within an hour. So, but I'm only doing that on Tuesdays, right? So it's just I think it's just the way your brain works too, and what you feel works better for you, and what also works better for your business. You might not be at a point where you can have a day where you really just dedicate to messaging and like voice memoing clients, right? So I think it just really depends. And yeah, I think it just really depends for
I mean, I
people.
think we can talk about pros and cons of chat support too. I think you've mentioned a bunch of the cons, but
Yeah.
I found for my clients, it's definitely a selling point when I'm talking to them because most of them are
Yes.
used to a portal where they contact their provider and they probably hear from a nurse or an admin. Maybe they get a call back. Yeah.
If they're lucky.
Right. That's why I said maybe. Like it's rare. And so this chat support is that connection that some people want, even if they never use it. Like I have
Yeah.
clients who like literally never use it. And I'm like, they're like, oh, I should have like asked you this question earlier. And I'm like, you should have. Yeah, absolutely. Um, like it would have been off your mind, right? That's what I tell them. I'm like, you can put the
Yeah.
questions there. And if it's too much, we'll do it next session. And I also usually say that in my sales call and in my first one-on-one so that they also understand
Yeah.
because people need like multiple ways of hearing something, right? So I tell them like, hey, our next call is until X date, but you can utilize chat support in between. And if I feel like it's too big of a discussion or it's too hard to explain over chat, like just talk about it at our next session. And usually they're like, okay, great, that's perfect. So I think pro is that it keeps them connected and it helps them feel safer. It
Yes.
helps them feel like I actually have someone on my team that I can reach out to. And also, if you're using your own phone, your own text message, no. You need to be utilizing a platform.
Oh, yes. Oh, I didn't even think to mention that.
Yeah, no. People should not have
Stop
your
it.
phone number and should not be texting you. You have a set portal. I know some people use Boxers and people use WhatsApp. I like Practice better because it's just like all
It's
right
all in one
there. But it
place.
doesn't matter. Like whatever works better for you, whatever you like, it doesn't really matter. But don't use your phone and don't text because you might set the boundary and they might be like, oh, well, she said she's not going to respond after 8 p.m. But that's when that person is sitting down for the day and has questions. All of a sudden
Yeah.
you get a ping and you're sitting there all night like I'm not supposed to respond. I'm not supposed to respond. And then what do? You respond. So
Yeah.
like highly 12 out of 10 recommend that your messaging, your chat support is somewhere else. And I feel like that creates
Yeah.
a boundary for you and for them.
Totally. I could not agree with that more. We have people inside the collaborative and some of our like close friends who their client, I'm like, what are you doing texting your clients? Stop it now.
Well, I do. So I think one of the issues is when you're starting your practice, I think sometimes there becomes this like weird murky boundary because some of your first clients, they are friends,
You know,
they're family members, there's somebody like who you know through the grapevine. Maybe you don't have something else set up yet, but I
true.
think that is what I've seen be the problem. And so even if you don't have like a practice better or healthy or some, which you should,
Yeah.
but like if you don't, get a Vox or get a WhatsApp,
Boxer,
like something that like is a an app that you can put on like the third
shut
page
it
or
off.
like right notifications off and like that way it's not like you're not shutting your text messages off. And even if you mute this person, you're eventually going to see the notification. So I
Totally.
understand it and also stop doing it because it's going to drive you like insane.
Yeah, one of the other things that I thought of as you were talking that I wrote down some notes on of what I really like to give my clients that reassurance too. Like please message me. Like I'm almost begging these people now too, right? Like I want to hear from you and I need to hear from you and you're going to make more progress if you just even do a quick like hey, no real changes or I'm having less headaches, my period was better, I didn't get a yeast infection, whatever. Like even if it's just a couple of sentences, it makes our follow-up appointments so much more productive. And one of the things that I've started telling my clients is when you go, we talked about protocol design last week, right? And one of the things that I tell people is I know there's going to be a lot of information in there. Before you pull that up, make sure you pull up a chat box with me so that you can ask questions in real time and you can make sure that you get those answered within the next like 5 6 days or whatever the time frame is, right, for me. And the other thing that I tell them that has actually been really reassuring, and I wasn't sure how it would go over with people, but I work with a lot of women who are like former people pleasers. They don't want to bother people. And I will tell my clients, listen, I love my work and I love what I do and I want to be there for you. And I also have really good boundaries with work where I do not look at those messages before Tuesday. So please, if you feel like you need to send me 15 different messages, send me 15 different messages. It is not bothering me. I'm not looking at the notifications. That is what you were paying me for. And a lot of women have said, like, oh, I'm so glad to hear you say that. Like, that makes me feel a lot better about being able to message you and like not feeling guilty about it, right? Just because, and that's just the demographic that I work with. It might be different from your demographic, Laura, or the demographic that other people work with. So reminding them at the end of every appointment, like, hey, make sure you have that chat box open with me to ask me any questions that you have about the things that I write, or maybe I forgot something or whatever the case is. That way you have that there and you can ask me in real time has been a really helpful tip. And it's definitely created more communication with my clients that maybe wouldn't have happened if I wasn't like a little bit pushy about it.
I think it's interesting you went from people messaging you all the time to not messaging you at all.
I know. You know what also part of the problem was is this is something else we should probably talk about here. I was not shutting off anyone's chat access. So so a lot of the messages I were getting were people who weren't paying me anymore and they were giving me these long paragraphs because of course, like they're not working with me, right? And so one day I was talking to Brooke and she was like, "Why do people have access to you when they're not paying you? Like that's silly." And I was like, "You know what? She right."
Oh yeah, that if you do have practice
She
better, you
right.
can shut it off. That's part of my
Yeah.
like offboarding process is
Same.
chat goes off because, and I tell people that. I say
I
just
do too.
FYI, like you will still have access to all of your notes and all of that, but you will lose access to chat, and you can email my company if you need something or want us to reschedule.
I tell that, I say, you will retain chat access to Jess if you have questions, you lost your results, you need whatever. And if it's, please don't ask her anything clinical. She does not do, people send her clinical questions sometimes and she's like, I don't know. I don't do this. It's my business manager. But I say the same, almost the same exact thing verbatim. And I always tell them in our last appointment, I'll leave your chat access on for the next week just in case you have any last minute follow up questions. After that, it will be shut off, is what I tell people. So I definitely think that it's a big selling point for me too, because I'm like, hey, I have weekly touch points with my clients. Like that's such a huge selling point for a lot of people. I have one client who she comes like, I saw her yesterday. I was like, I love when I see like Tuesdays because you come in like revving and roaring with like really targeted questions. It helps you move the needle. And she's like, okay, that's it for the week. I'm great. But she'll ask me like 5, 6, 7 questions of like, things that she was reading about, or she listened to the podcast or started reading a book or one of my guides that I recommended. And she comes in with like, hey, I read about this and I have da 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 da. What do you think about da 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 da? And it's really great. So I think the thing that I personally like about the Tuesdays only, and I know there's pros and cons and you do it differently, it creates a little bit of urgency for people. Like, oh, I gotta get my questions in. And my business manager does send reminders every Monday. So if people forget or they didn't send me messages or a summary, if you are going to do that 1 or 2 days a week, I do think it's nice to have some type of reminder message that goes out because life gets busy and I want people to get the most out of what they're paying for, basically. Some people don't use it at all. I don't think I would want to do that.
I mean, I think
I think maybe we should touch on that quickly.
I guess that's dependent on like what your package is or what you're offering, right? Like I was just thinking like PTs, right? Like I was thinking of my PT, like shout out Heather if you're listening, but like I don't see necessarily the need for chat there, right? Because we're working on something targeted and she's offering like I'm paying per session. I know she has a couple packages, but like I could understand not really needing chat for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I think it's totally dependent on what your package is and what you're kind of like you talked in the beginning of what you're pricing it
Yeah.
at because it does take time. It can take time. I mean, I don't think mine takes all that much time anymore, but I think it's still mental energy that goes into it.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so I think it's really dependent on
Your
who are you as
structure.
a provider? What are you offering as package versus one-offs versus like what that looks like? And then what's compensation? And I think you will become a resentful provider if you are not getting compensated for the work that you're doing. So I think that's just part of it is like chat is great, but it needs to be part of the right package and
Package.
solution and compensation so that you actually, one, your clients actually use it and get the most out of it. And two, like you actually get compensated and don't feel like, you're constantly a slave to messages because nobody wants that.
Yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are. Like a lot of practitioners are doing kind of like the work that RDs, PAs, that type of functional realm are doing. I don't want to say it's all the same, but it's in the same like area of like our packages look relatively similar. You get more into the nutrition, you see people a little more frequently than I do because you're more nutrition specific, right? You're fucking RD. Like, hello. But someone who's doing relatively what we're doing, seeing people on a monthly, bi-monthly basis, really getting into these nitty-gritties, do you think they need to have chat access almost?
I feel like my brain just farted.
No, so my thought is if you're doing work similar to ours,
Yes.
I can't imagine not giving people that access.
I mean, no, I guess there's a world in which you could if you really hated it. And I mean, if I think about it, not all my clients use chat support and they see success. So
That's
it's
fair.
not, you know what I mean? It's not out of
Yeah.
the realm of possibility. So if it's something you just don't want to, you can turn it off on Practice Better. I'm sure you can
Yes.
on the other platforms too. So I don't think it's totally necessary.
Yeah.
I think it's really valuable. I
I do
think that
too.
I would urge people to do it, but I think there is a world in which you could do it and still be successful.
Yeah.
I think you would need more touch points with them though. So whether that's group office hours or more one-on-one calls, which then if you're talking about like scalability and profitability, right? Like if you can do the same work over less time, meaning like you're not needing 2 one-on-one calls when you can have one one-on-one call and chat support. Like, what do you want that to look like? And I don't think there's a
Yeah.
right or wrong. I think that
Yeah,
I
that's
think
fair.
I think it's very valuable, and I would urge people to consider it. But I also think if it's just not in your capacity, it's possible to be successful without it. I just think it's a really good selling point. I'd like, even if the person doesn't use it, they know they have it. And I think sometimes that safety net is what people really enjoy because they feel so disconnected from other providers and feel like their other
Yes.
providers don't see them or hear them or care about them. And so even just having that, I think like sometimes we'll ask like the silliest questions that I answer in 5 seconds, whatever. It takes me no time at all. And they're like, "Oh my God, thank you. No one's ever
Mhm.
done this." And I'm
So sad.
like I did nothing.
I
Like I
know.
literally said that like, do this. I don't know. I can't think of a good example, but like I've done that before and I'm like, you're welcome.
Yeah,
Great.
it's really sad. I mean, I was always a stickler when I worked in conventional medicine for getting back to patients in 1 or 2 days max. I
That
know.
is the norm.
I know. I know.
Oh,
I mean, we have a friend who the last practice that she worked with, she was going through, remember when she was going, I won't say her name.
yes.
She was going through other practitioners' notes or inboxes, and there was results from like
She
months
was supposed
prior.
to, by the way.
Yeah.
She was helping
Yes, yes,
to
yes.
manage their inboxes.
She
She was not creeping.
yeah, they were like months behind. She was finding like
Reporting
abnormal
results.
colonoscopies, abnormal potassium, like things that are like
Yeah.
dangerous.
Yeah. Oh,
And I do think that that is, we talked in, I don't know if it was the last episode or a couple episodes before because we've
who
done a
knows?
block who no one knows. But, Marcus said, you really need to highlight how y'all's services are different from that of a regular doctor's office or RD or whatever. And like, this is it. Like, you don't have access to, I can't speak for RDs, but a doctor or a PA, you do not get direct access to them. You get their medical
Oh,
assistant. It
yeah.
does
I mean,
not
RDs
happen.
too. Yeah.
It does not happen. You get access to their assistant, you get access to the front office. And for good reason. I'm not shaming that because when you're seeing 20 people a day and you have a panel of thousands of people, like it's just unmanageable. That's all there is
Yes.
to it.
Yes.
So,
Correct.
yes, we charge a premium price, but we over deliver on a premium service. I have no doubt. I know I do, and I have no doubt that you do as well because I know what you do for your people. And so I think that when we're talking about the realm of why we offer chat support for people, like this is part of why, is because we want people, even though they're paying a lot of money, we want them to feel like, wow, like she over delivered, even though I paid X amount of dollars for this whole entire, it's an experience, really. I mean, it sounds
I mean,
silly, but
maybe I'm putting words in some of my clients' mouths, but I almost think they forget about the cost once they've paid
yes,
when they start feeling taken care of, when they
yes,
start seeing results and they start feeling heard and listened to. And I'm not negating that they did make a big investment and that it could have put some financial strain, right? But like, I think they almost forget about it because they're like, it didn't matter anymore. Like they're seeing results that they haven't before. And I know I've been in that scenario too. It's like,
yep,
the cost feels really big up front, but then once you're getting the actual services delivered, you're like, oh, like I paid nothing for this, like
yeah.
truly.
One of the stories I told in my personal email list recently was about my pelvic floor flare, right? And I shelled out like $1,500 in a week. And Brenna asked me, she's like, would you do it? Was it worth it? I go, fuck yeah, dude. Like I was dying. So, and it's funny, my pelvic floor PTs say that people wait years in the condition that I was in. And I was like, how? I was so, they did say they only ever saw one other person as like struggly as I was. It's like, oh, great. But she's like, people who struggle with this type of issue, they will wait years. And I just cannot imagine that. Like, it was worth every fucking penny that I spent, even if I would have had to dip into savings, even if whatever I had to do. I mean, I had multiple massages in 1 week. I saw my pelvic floor PT twice. I saw my chiropractor. It wasn't even a thought. And I get that not everyone can do that. I understand that. And if you go back a couple episodes, we did talk about varying levels of services to serve different people and things like that. But it does, I would agree with you that once people start feeling heard and seen and experiencing some type of result, they forget about, I don't want to say forget about, but it almost feels,
Yeah. I don't, right.
it's
It
not
feels
like,
less of that barrier, that hurdle that they
yeah,
once thought it was. They start realizing like, oh, I'm not just paying this money just because this person doesn't accept insurance.
yeah,
I'm paying this money because I'm actually getting a service I've never gotten before as it pertains to my health.
yes.
So
Bomb drop end. Like I have nothing to add to that because it's so true. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, we are well into 2026, so I guess we should have said Happy New Year to everyone. If you are listening to this, we have a lot of amazing events coming up. Our next event is Dr. Catherine Height. She's going to be talking all about genetics from a functional perspective. And I'm so excited because this is a topic that I know very little about. Kat is a functional medicine practitioner. She is, I believe, a chiropractor by trade, but has done a ton of functional medicine training and just so smart and has a really nuanced approach. Make sure that if you want to check that out, you don't know a lot about genetics and how it can be impacting your clients, go to unconventionalcollaborative.com or visit us on Instagram, unconventional.collaborative, and you can join in and get access immediately. And until next week, we'll see you later.